Hey everybody, this is DM Mike, and this is the next campaign diary for DOIP. Now, we are wrapping up. Matter of fact, our next session after this is our last session. So about one more campaign diary to go, and then maybe I'll do a quick little post-mortem and kind of recap what it was like to run it for a second time. We'll see how this goes. See how bad it is. But anyway, we began the adventure right after we destroyed the Banshee at Axholm. The players spent some time there making sure like gears were working and the portcullis could open up and the doors were free and everything, like everything had just been completely wiped out. And from Axholm, they began their journey back to family. And right in the middle of the grasslands, they were confronted by Gorthok, the shaman, and two chain brute ogres, I think that's what they are. Those are two things that I added to the adventure. I like them. I just think they're fun to use. I kind of heighten them up a little bit. But we had a combat encounter. There's the map here. In the grasslands, I kind of put together really quickly in Dungeon Draft, my go-to software right now. Here's the thing. Here's also one of the first mistakes I made as a DM. Not the encounter, not anything that happened in the encounter, but the idea of bringing out Gorthok after the players have reached 5th level. Let me tell you now, it's a mistake to do so. Players at 5th level are just too strong, and Gorthok really doesn't pose much of an issue at all. And this session actually had quite a few, I think, mistakes in it. And we just learned from them, right? It's nothing terrible about these mistakes, but I feel like there were several that were made that evening by the players and myself. And what do you do? You work through it, you play the game, and you have fun, best fun you can. But you just kind of walk away going, okay, well, let's not do that again. But yeah, I made a big mistake bringing out this character. So if you're getting ready to have a Gorthok encounter, make sure your players are not level 5, because if they are, they're going to wipe the floor with them. That's kind of what happened to me. Nothing to really highlight in that combat encounter. I had him phase in, and Gorthok had used his power. And there's a lot more to Gorthok. I don't want to spill it all here, but he's not just a normal entity. And so he phased in with the shaman on his back, and they came for revenge. Why? Because the heroes had killed 90% of their tribe. They had killed him at Umbrage Hill all at the beginning of the adventure, and then of course in Butterskull Ranch. So it was time for revenge, and the shaman and Gorthok kind of bit off more than they could chew. So before I knew it, that encounter on that encounter map was over. And Gorthok, I think maybe he hit 2 people. I'm not really too sure about that, but it was a very, very fast encounter. And yeah, I think in the future, if I ever run the campaign again, which I will because there's always new players to Dungeons & Dragons, I will bring Gorthok out about level 2 or 3, maybe level 3. So they ended up defeating Gorthok and going back to Fanland. Now this is where I feel like pacing issues kind of hit, right? I'm explaining all this and being transparent about the clunkiness of some things, because I know this is geared towards those people that are the DMs that are running this for the first time. These are the kind of things sometimes that happen. These things that just kind of you got to work through, and sometimes when it comes to pacing, sometimes pacing is in your hands. A good chunk of the time, actually, for a DM, the pacing is there, but sometimes it's put into the player's hands, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes it just kind of wax and wanes and just kind of meanders a little bit, and finally something happens, right? And I think I know why. It's not a negative thing. It's just something that happens at the table. By the time they got back to Fanland, first of all, Fanland was attacked by orcs. While Gorthok was attacking the players, they had sent a small tribe there to, what was left of their tribe, just a few left, to capture people from Fanland, and they were successful. By the time players got there, the attack was over, so it was kind of a 2-pronged attack. Now this led to an urgency. Right, this led to, well, crap, we need to go find these orcs. They knew where they were thanks to Prospero, who had already been out to the summoning circle, or for your campaign, it's going to be called the Circle of Stones. I changed it for mine. But, as you said, I said like maybe 5 campaign diaries ago, Prospero had seen that and returned back to Fanland. But now they wanted to go rescue these people, right? So there was an urgency of, let's go find these people before they're sacrificed or something else. They had taken Norbus because it was a stealth raid, and they managed to capture some other peasants, including Adabra Gwyn. So there was kind of this need to get on the road and let's take action. Now, I did something new here. I gave out rewards. I didn't do this the first time I played this campaign, but the second time I did a playthrough, the citizens of Fanland pooled their resources to give a reward to the players. And here's my idea, is to do it, when Axholm was destroyed or freed, and also when the dragon, if the dragon is killed, to have those kind of 2 things in place. And I felt like, they had managed to give them freedom, a place to run to and to hide, and to, give them a chance to survive a dragon encounter. So the players, all the citizens got together, and I gave them I'll put a thing up here, but I think it's like, some gems, some about 2,500 gold pieces, and some gifts. Anything they had, like potions, scrolls, anything the citizens had that they could donate, right? And now the Fallon is starting to evacuate. It's time to get to Axholm as quickly as possible before the next attack comes. But this is where pacing kind of got cumbersome, really. And this is where I kind of, you know, usually the DM's in control of all the horses. You know, we're getting the carriage going, I'm controlling everything, but I kind of let the reins go a little bit here. And it was like half the group was ready to go. We need to go. We need to get, you know, let's save these people. The other half, I know Beazle had a lot of, you know, contracts, different things he needed to get squared on, you know, like to get some, he needed to drop a bunch of coin, get some coin back for some of the things he was doing for Halia Thornton and some other people there. And so there was this kind of, okay, I need to turn in these contracts, I need to get some more information and intel, I want to, you know, do all these things, but there's also this, hey, we need to get the heck out of here, guys. They could kill these people. So it was a tug of war right there at the table. Also, I introduced this guy, the Shady Merchant. I think his name is Wilson Walcott. He's known as Dice. He has 2 enchanted golems, which are small little maquettes. Not maquettes, I keep calling them that. Marionettes, about the size of, I don't know, they're like, you know, 12 inches tall. You know, they're very, very tiny and whatnot. And I had him show up. He never showed up in the first campaign. Never even a thought, right? But in this campaign, I thought, well, Beazle now has made a connection with Halia Thornton. He started to come over to the Zentarium, you know, whatever, Xanax. And I thought, okay, maybe that activates something. Maybe this will give you an idea for your campaign, but maybe that activates a new merchant to come in, right? Halia Thornton contacts this shady dealer. He comes in, and he starts to offer new things, right? And I think a mistake here for me was I should have maybe brought this guy in a little bit earlier, because he was introduced at a time where Phelan was attacked, there's prisoners, Beazle has got all these contracts going on, people are ready to leave. There was just a lot to do out of nowhere right when the players arrived. So it was definitely you know, negative and positive forces kind of going back and forth at the table. And I know it's frustrating, but you know, mistakes, you know, it's just mistakes are made, and you just kind of accept them, move on, and make sure we don't kind of do that again. But here comes the third mistake. They left Phelan eventually, and they got to the forest. Now, I think this is where atmosphere started to kick in. I had some great effects for the forest, and we started to hunker down and do these stealth moves, and we got deeper and deeper in Neverwinter Wood, and they got to the summoning circle, right? And what's left? Well, what's there is what's left of the tribe. They were kind of waiting for the shaman and Gorthok to come back. They didn't quite do it yet. The last few forces, I think it was like only 5 people there, were just waiting. They had prisoners. The players did arrive, right? They did a pass without trace. They got really, really close. And then there was planning. Well, the beginnings of planning, I should say. I was kind of sitting back as a DM watching, but there's planning going on. And you can see they're at the very corner of the map there. There's a lot of space between them and this summoning circle. Well, there was these ideas being bounced around, and I don't remember exactly how it started, but there was planning going on, and then suddenly, I think it was Gork. So Gork. It's too many G names. Grok just shot out. I think I was moving the tokens around, the trolls and whatnot, because all the time they were sitting there talking while these creatures are moving. They're not going to be in the same space. But one of the trolls, I think one of the chain brutes, went in and crushed and killed one of the peasants who was trying to fight back. And I think that initiated something. And I think at first Seamus was going to do something, then he decided not to, and then I think Grok broke through the bushes and started the combat encounter. But of course, in starting the combat encounter, everybody at bare minimum was at least 90 feet away. So that was a lot of turns. It's fine, it's no big deal, right? This just happens. But there was a lot of turns of just people just trying to kind of get close. Because some range spells were too far, some of the orcs were still too close to the peasants, so you couldn't quite do an area of effect spell, you know, and on and on and on. So I think even the table was vocalized like, wow, we are way too far away from each other. And it's true. It was a mistake. You know, it's just one of those things. But, you know, heroes aren't perfect, and neither is the enemy, you know. So it was just kind of funny to watch that unravel. And I think it was towards the end of the night, too. And even with that distance between people, that combat encounter took 20 minutes. I think it literally was like 25 minutes, and it was done. So it went by really quick, but there were a lot of turns just to get within range of somebody or someone, right? So it probably could have gone by even faster. So, you know, it was just, you know, we had a good time. It's hard to, as a DM, it's hard to pick up the pieces from your last session. In other words, a last session that was really awesome, a lot of fun, and then it was like a 2-week break, and you come back, it's kind of hard to pick up those pieces. It's hard to get that excitement and that tone again, and everybody kind of being in the same headspace, because 2 weeks have passed, and work, and we're tired, and all these different things going on. it's hard to do. So as a new DM, just be aware of that. You're going to have some awesome sessions that are like, oh, that was so fantastic. But the next time you meet, it's just going to be, I think like most games, it's kind of normal. It's average. It just moves from point A to point B and you're done. And hopefully maybe the next session will be even stellar, Obviously don't expect the fireworks to go off on every single adventure. I had a good time, but I could just tell that, there were some complications and, mistakes along the way, and that happens sometimes. So that's where we left off. They're in Neverwinter Woods now. There's only 2 more locations. I think this can be wrapped up by our next meeting. And I've changed some things around, and I will explain that in detail when I record the next campaign diary. The new maps that I created, which I think is only maybe 2, will be in the DM's Facebook group. I think it's like the Dragons of Icespire Peak DM's Facebook group. There I'll upload them in the file section. If you're watching this and you're part of that group, you'll find them there. There'll be the Grassland one and the Summoning Circle. So grab them and download them if you want to use them. They'll be there for you. And there'll be a couple new maps there too as I wrap up next week's campaign. So this is the second to the last campaign diary. Not much more to go, and I think the next one's going to be crazy. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.